Right, Shalom. Shalom. Before I begin, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Ruach Kodash. I'd like to say double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone, the men whom I've learned this truth from. And I'd like to say shalom and salutations as well to the elect that's out there preaching His word in truth and sincerity. All right, I'm the brother Shaquat, and I'm one of the brothers from the branch of Great Millstone, Montreal. I'm back with another lesson. And this lesson that I'm going to be getting into today is going to be entitled The Northern Kingdom Split, right? And, the title is pretty much self explanatory because I'm going to go into, the split between the kingdoms, the Southern Kingdom and the Northern Kingdom, right? Because at one point, there wasn't a split, they were united, you know, under the rulership of Saul, right? Saul. Which is actually the second king of Israel, right? And then King David and King Solomon, right? But then after that, the kingdom was split. The two kingdoms were split from each other, right? And that's what I'm gonna get into, right? And just to clarify, King David was the first king. No, Salakia. Moses was the first king of Israel, right? And then it was Saul. Just to get a quick precept to back that up. Salakia, bro. Yeah. This is the book of Exodus. Shalakia. That's not the one. Oh, bear with me, Shalakia, while I try to find this. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. Deuteronomy 33 and verse 1. And this is a blessing wherewith Moses, the man of the Most High, blessed the children of Israel before his death. All right, and this is the same, almost, similar to Genesis 49, where it speaks about the prophecies about the kingdoms, the prophecies that would befall the kingdoms at the end of the last days, right? It says verse 2, and he said, the Lord Yahweh came from Sinai and rose up from Seir unto them, and he shined forth from Mount uh, Haran, and he came with 10,000s of saints from his right hand with the fiery law for them. Yea, he loved the people. All his saints are in thy hand, and they sat down at thy feet. Every one shall receive of thy words. Moses commanded us a law, even the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob. And he was king in Jeshurun. Jeshurun is another way to say Israel, right? It says, and he was king in Jeshurun when the heads of the people and the tribes of Israel were gathered together. There you go. So Moses was the first king of of the nation of Israel, and that's the southern and northern kingdom, right? And then you had Saul, um, which was second, and then King David, and then King Solomon, right? And both the southern and northern kingdom were united under all those rulerships or kings, Salakia. But then they were split, and I'm gonna get into the split. So this is First Kings 11:1, and the reason for the split, right? Um, Here we go. First Kings 11:1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, Ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love, right? So this was a part of, or a major part of the reason why uh there was a split in the southern and northern kingdom, was because of King Solomon's iniquity, right? Because um uh the Lord, you know, King Solomon allowed, these other women to turn his heart from the Most High, man, right? And just to clarify, there's nothing wrong with dealing with the women of the other nations. It's just um, you shouldn't be swayed by them. You shouldn't let them. You shouldn't be too in love with them. You shouldn't treat them like a wife, because they're concubine, right? The problem that the Lord had, with the nation of Israel dealing with uh, the heathenistic woman was that, you might fall in love with them, and then once you fall in love with them, you start worshiping their gods and so on and so forth. That's the only problem that the Lord had with them. He was worried, the Lord knew that Jake would fall in love and their heart would be turned from him to the other gods, man. That pum pum would change them, and that's why the Lord was uh, didn't want us to deal with the other nations. And even I think it's the book of Nehemiah. It goes into that, man. It goes into Nehemiah being frustrated about that, because um, it would, Jake would deal with the heathenistic woman, get all, in love, fall all in love with her, and then what would happen, man? You would have a kid, and the kid would grow up, you know, not knowing the customs of Israel, man, but the customs and the ways of his mother, which is a heathen and serving the God, and that's not right. Throughout generations, you lose your heritage, man, and that's not what the Lord is pleased with, right? So there is nothing wrong with dealing with the women of the other nations. It's just you can't allow them to have power over you to where um, they force or they sway your heart from Yahweh Shemashai to their ways and their gods, right? And Ishmael is, the Ishmaelite women, they do that, man. They, for brothers that deal with Ishmaelite women, some of them, not all of them, some of them, um, you have to convert to their religion to deal with them, man. And some jakes, they'll go there, just for the bot, but that's not right. That's not right. That's not right because she's a heathen, and that's a false god, right? And that's what happened with King Solomon. He clave unto those in love. Verse 3, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with Yahweh his power, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and Malchon, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of Yahweh and went not fully after Yahweh as David his father. Then did King Solomon build a high place for Cheshmosh, the abomination of Moab, in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods, man. All right, so King Solomon assisted them in the worship of their gods by setting up altars and so on and so forth, man, for his wives, right? And that's the mistake that the King Solomon that King Solomon made, and that's what the Lord, you know, didn't want us to do, right? When dealing with these other nations, or the women of these other nations, all right. So let me jump around here. Right, and that's breaking the commandment of the Lord, right? Well, the first and most important commandment is to love the Lord with all thy heart and only serve Him, man. All right. So I'm gonna jump to verse 11. Wherefore Yahweh said unto Solomon, for as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant. Notwithstanding, in thy days I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. Howbeit, I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son for David my servant's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, which I have chosen. That's right. So the Lord said that He wasn't gonna do it in King Solomon's lifetime, but He was gonna do it in his son's lifetime, right? And who was uh right? Who was King Solomon's son? It was Rehoboam, right? Yeah, King Solomon's son was Rehoboam. All right. So that's when the split happened. So let's get to the split. Get it here. Yeah, verse 28. And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor, and Solomon, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph. That moment is spiritual, because that was a prophecy, right? And that's what ended up happening. And Joseph is could be synonymous to this northern kingdom. Verse 29. And it came to pass at that time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem that the prophet Ahijah the Shulamite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they too were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it in 12 pieces. And he said, and he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith Yahweh, the power of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee. But he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of the tribes of Israel, because that they have forsaken me and have worshipped Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians, Cheshmesh, the goddess of the Moabites, Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways, to do that which is right in my eyes and keep my statutes and my judgments my, as David his father. That's right. Howbeit, I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life for David, my servant's sake, whom I chose, because he kept, because he kept my commandments and my statutes. Right. It says, but I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand and will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes, and unto his son I will give one tribe, that David my servant may have a light always before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen me to put my name there. Right. So that's what happened. You know, the the two kingdoms were split under the rulership of Rehoboam, and then Rehoboam was given the southern kingdom, which consisted of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and then the northern kingdom, which was the other 10 tribes, was given to Jeroboam, right? Um, so that's the split between the southern and the northern kingdom, But guess what? They were reunited in the future, right? And where were they reunited? In America. Let me get that and I'll close off. This is Jeremiah 50 and verse 33. Thus said the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel, the northern kingdom, and the children of Judah, the southern kingdom, were oppressed together. So when were they oppressed together? In the Americas. In America, man, because they were both brought here, right? The northern kingdom got here first, and then Judah, the southern kingdom, got here. But this is the place of their captivity. It says they were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. That's right. So there you go. So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying, quick, and to the point. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Shai, Bashim B'Chakadash. Once again, double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Until next time, Shalom.